The White House is on lockdown. 2 National Guardsmen have been shot. What the? Okay, this is a little bit crazier than I expected. This story saw several shot, including National Guardsmen near White House. Jesus Christ, what is happening? Okay, I take it back. Maybe this is a pretty big story. I thought it was like, I did not realize it was an issue. I don't usually cover breaking news, but what the is happening here? We'll start here.
A live view of that area, a block from the White House on 17th and I Northwest. You see from the other angle we showed a moment ago where police were unfolding yellow tape, you could see
I'm going back to China,
the
bro.
Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is right next to the White House. And Chief, this is typically an area that is very busy, not only with folks who work there, but also with tourists. Given that it is a holiday week, you imagine that there are a lot of folks that are visiting D.C. Can you talk specifically about that area near the White House grounds and what it is like from a security perspective?
Well, I mean, it's quiet as far as crime goes. I mean, it is crowded. You have a lot of people that come down to this part of D.C. Obviously, that looks like 17th Street, that one shot that we were looking at there. But yeah, it's just a very busy area. But as far as crime goes, you might have a shoplift or a theft or something like that, and even that doesn't occur with any kind of regularity.
DC police says suspect in custody.
Because you have so many police departments in the city, and because you're so close to the White House, the patrol footprint is going to overlap with a lot of different agencies in that particular area: Secret Service, DC Police, even Metro Transit. There's not a, if my memory serves me correct, there's a Metro stop not too far from there as well. So there'll be a lot of agencies that are in that area just on a regular basis, not for any particular reason, just on a regular basis.
And as you've been speaking,
Trump down?
we
No.
just got in a statement from the White House saying the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation, and the president has been briefed. We should note the president is not at the White House right now, currently at his West Palm Beach golf club where he's spending the holiday. But as Boris was talking about, there are so many people in town. Typically, as we see in Washington, D.C., but especially so leading into the Thanksgiving holiday here. I mean, just talk a little bit about how tourists generally should approach the security situation in a place like D.C., where, as you mentioned, there are many different security apparatuses here. There are lots of moving
It's incredible
parts
how condescending you are. What do you mean?
To a situation like this,
About what?
should tourists be thinking?
About what's going on right now? I haven't even said anything. Chatter might be on rewind right now.
Enjoy the city. I mean, there are obviously going to be some areas that, you're going to see heightened security around the White House, for an example. But for the most part, tourists just come, they visit, they visit Smithsonian's, they walk by the White House, grab a couple photographs and so forth. But I mean, it's not a difficult town to get around in. And even though there's a heavy police presence there because of so many different agencies, and it is our nation's capital.
You're just sitting there silently, acting like you're better than me. Everyone always does.
Unless you want to go into one of the secure buildings like White House, Capitol, and places like that. But just an average tourist, there's really, and they just move around.
Yeah. We're now joined by CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe, a former FBI deputy director. Andy, we are just learning from our producer that the scene has been secured. This is 17th and I, one block from the White House. There is a suspect currently in custody. Obviously, we have very limited details, just that several people were hurt. At least one member of the U.S. National Guard has been shot. Can you give us a sense of how an investigation like this begins, essentially? We have a suspect in custody, but now is when some of the real work begins.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially if we go back maybe half an hour or so before we learn this, just knowing there's been a shooting in that area, as Chief pointed out, you've got so many different agencies that are overlapping each other in this space. DC Metro PD clearly in the lead here. This is their turf, but you're in between the White House, where you have Secret Service. You've got Park Police. They have locations that they're responsible for all over the city. You've got the other federal agencies like the FBI. So there's the capability of a massive response, and usually I've seen it in responding to many situations in DC. You get an over response. People, officers on the street, self-deploy to the area around the spot because they want to be helpful and they want to be able to kind of see what they can accomplish. And that's not that can be challenging with traffic and getting, if you have medevac issues, it's tough to get ambulances in and out of there. But for this, where you're looking for a subject, the more law enforcement, eyeballs that you can put on that problem, the better off you are.
I'm too European for this.
Area where there is an extraordinarily high degree of.
I mean, I don't know.
Capture.
I don't know what the fuck happened, and we still don't know what the fuck happened. But like I guess they already have the Secretary Noem says, "Please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington D.C. Department of Homeland Security is working with local law enforcement to gather more information. Are they okay? Like, I don't understand. Like, Associated Press says their condition is unknown. Follow the latest news on President Donald Trump and his administration. But yeah, I think it was. I think the suspect is in custody already, right? Or is that also made up? FBI probing Democrats who told troops to defy legal orders. I mean, that's like the separate story. 2 National Guard soldiers were shot Wednesday near the White House, and their conditions aren't immediately known, according to 2 law enforcement officials not authorized to discuss the matter publicly, who spoke to AP on condition of anonymity. Emergency vehicles were seen responding to the area. The Joint D.C. Task Force confirmed they were responding to an incident in the vicinity of the White House following reports of the shooting. However, the spokesperson wouldn't immediately confirm or deny if the National Guards members had been shot. President Donald Trump was at his West Palm Beach golf course. So we don't even know if they got shot. Like, what the f is going on? Like, we don't know what kind of, like, was there a... The scene is secured, 1 suspect in custody, according to the D.C. Police Department. But we don't know what level of harm came to the National Guardsmen that were shot. Like, did they get shot in the vest and have, like, minor bruising, or they got actually shot? There's a photo on Twitter. Cash Patel's looking into it. Oh god. Oh brother, we're so cooked.
Typically, house in a spot like this, again, a block
from
the White House.
Is this the event? Is this the triggering event for martial law? I don't know. One is shot in the head. There's pigs. Wait, what?
Omar, typically it's a super crowded area of the city. You've got to the south and east just a little bit. You have the whole White House.
Do not show on stream, but this dude is dead for sure.
Where you have the White House itself, the East Wing, the West Wing, the mansion. You've got the old executive office building next door with the Treasury on the other side. You've got the Ellipse, Lafayette Square, all these kind of square block areas that are part of the White House.
There is a photo of a
controlled by the Secret
okay,
Service.
so there is a photo of a National Guardsman on the ground, and there's like a lot of blood on the ground. But the 2 people that are responding from, I think, Secret Service, U.S. Secret Service, are applying pressure to the wound, and it could be like an ear. It could be an ear, or he could have just gotten shot directly in the head. But I don't know. I can't tell from this photo.
On that, like, K Street corridor, L Street, all those areas going up Constitution Avenue into the more northern part of the city.
Or a non-fatal shot to the head. Yeah, it could be.
Office workers, professionals, people who are
Trump
leaving
got
their
shot in the
offices
head,
on foot trying to make their way to the metro train, or going down into the garage and bringing their vehicles up onto the street. So a lot of traffic, a lot of crowds, a lot of chaos in there normally. In addition, you have all those other law enforcement entities that we talked about. And any one of those entities, Park Police, FBI, Homeland Security, could have units out in vehicles doing whatever businesses they have to do. Just patrolling, conducting investigations, in the case of Homeland Security folks, conducting maybe immigration activity. So it's a very dense, kind of charged area, both with civilians, with the people like cabinet members and people who would be going in and out of the White House doing business, and law enforcement. So That's why I think on our video now you're seeing a lot of those different uniforms. Now, so add to this very confusing picture the National Guard, who've been around in DC for a little while, so they're not quite as novel as they were in the first week or two. But these are folks who've basically been thrown into a pseudo law enforcement function, most of whom don't really have law enforcement backgrounds. And that adds, I think, a real wild card element to this thing. We don't really know how those folks would respond if confronted with a violent incident on the street with an armed person. So there's a lot of variability, I think, in the platform here, and so we'll have to just wait to see what more facts develop from the investigation.
Very important perspective there, as we're getting a new vantage point of the scene. Just about a block from the White House in Washington, D.C., where we've learned there's been a shooting. At least 2 National Guardsmen, according to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, have been shot. Police say that a suspect is currently in custody. Unclear at this point whether those Guardsmen were actually targeted, whether they were responding to an already unfolding incident. Those details are being gathered as we speak, and we see a very large law enforcement presence there. We've seen
I just
ATF,
don't know.
U.S. Marshals,
I don't
FBI,
know what the response to this will be,
National Guard
because
members.
I feel like
Back to Chief Ramsey. Chief, I
the
wonder
counter to this
how
is like, oh,
investigators now
National
go
Guardsmen
about
didn't even
determining
stop the
whether
leftist violence. Like, they'll
those
say
who
like
were
this is
shot
Antifa
were
left violence.
targeted, whether this was a
And then
deliberate violent
they'll
act.
say if the National Guardsmen couldn't stop
that's
this
something they
leftist
may not
Antifa
know
violence,
right
like
away.
I don't
it's
know
gonna
who
take
is
time.
supposed
This
to
is
be
brand new
able to stop this
investigation. They've got a lot of things they've
Antifa
gotta,
leftist violence from
sort out, as
Trump's
Andy mentioned. There's
perspective,
video that has
and
to be,
that they might
recovered.
say
There's
they said
interviews,
suspect in custody,
witnesses
not
that
the
has to
shooter.
take place. If
Well, I
in
mean,
fact they
yeah,
have
the suspected
suspect in
shooter is in custody.
Obviously, you're going to want to make sure that you, at some point in time, interrogate that person. But first, you want to secure him. We don't know. He could be one of the people shot. I mean, we just don't know a lot of information right now.
I mean,
so it's going to
did
take a
they
minute
did they
to sort
send the
this out,
Marines
figure
in
out
this situation?
exactly
Is
what
that
took
what they
place,
would justify?
in
I
this
don't know.
particular incident.
They'll
And you
probably
see
try
all
to
these
say
different
that this is like
agencies
all a consequence of
and,
like violent
the
leftist
degree of
rhetoric.
response. You mentioned
It'll be a
how
consequence of
if you're
violent leftist rhetoric. They'll say, send in the Marines, or they'll say we have to be more aggressive in our
have specific
apprehension
jobs for people to do,
and
not just
our
standing
prosecution of
around.
like
I mean, there's
people
a
who
lot
are
of work that's
engaging in
gonna
any
need
sort
to
of
be
criticism
done,
of the
in this
administration's
particular
actions.
case, I would imagine, between interviewing
Right?
witnesses, recovering video, securing individuals. If the suspect is wounded at the hospital, you got a guard there. You got to process the crime scene, and hopefully they're not trampling all over the crime scene. I see tape up, but I'm
Nothing
not sure
happened
what
after
the
Kirk. People
boundaries
thought
are.
that would be a
But
triggering
there are a
event. I
lot
don't
of
think
things
Trump would do
going
something
on,
for a National Guard dude, to
now.
be
But
honest.
at
I know,
this
but it's a
point in
buildup,
time, it
right?
looks like DC police would probably
It's a
be
buildup. It's
the
a
lead
steady.
agency, but if more
There was a lot
information
of demand
develops, well,
from the
federal
MAGA
agencies like the
base
FBI
after
might
Charlie
take it over.
Kirk. They were screaming bloody murder, and they wanted revenge. They wanted revenge to be taken on the left. And I think like they tried to test it. And it didn't work that well. Basically, I feel like this is another point that they can add on to the consistent flow of propaganda.
Point in time, seeing National Guard troops on the streets of D.C. would have been a little bit more unusual. It's become a little bit more of the norm over the past few months as troops from multiple states have been in D.C. as part of President Trump's anti-crime crackdown. But one of the dynamics that Andy McCabe was talking about was sort of, usually on the streets you see police officers, you might see federal agents that typically are more used to interfacing with the public or dealing with situations, unfortunately, like this. We still don't know the circumstances here, but can you just tell us a little bit about how police are typically trained if there is a confrontation on the streets, if they run into a situation where someone may come up with a weapon, and where to go from there?
Well, I mean, obviously you have the de-escalation training, you have use of force standards that are in place. You have all these things that are part of the training. If my memory serves me correct, the basic training for Metropolitan Police Department officers, somewhere around 800 hours of training. And I'm not saying anything negative about the National Guardsmen. They have been deployed. They're doing what they've been asked to do. I see that they're armed. I don't know how much training they received in general, because, policing in urban areas It's just different from what they're trained as part of the military. Now, having said that, we don't know the circumstances around this at all. So it's very difficult to say, but that's been a concern of mine early on. I was in D.C. last week, and I saw the National Guard, some of the National Guardsmen, walking down the street. They were in groups of 4, and I spoke to them. They spoke to me. I mean, it was just very casual. It was nothing out of the ordinary because, they've been there for so long now. People are starting to get used to it, at least in D.C. Anyway. But people in D.C. are just used to a whole lot of uniforms. I think there's something like 32 different.
Candelanian from MSNBC, now known as MS Now. DC police now saying a suspect is in custody after at least one National Guards member was shot in downtown DC. DHS secretary saying 2 were shot, and the fire department saying 3 people were taken to the hospitals. I don't like that whenever stuff like this happens, it's just like there's so much misinformation flying around. Like they need to, especially at a time when there's like unprecedented amounts of insecurity. Like there's not a lot of credibility for the administration or any of its organs. I hate that it's like I hate that there is this like misinformation flinging around. You should steal Clandis' move and blame Israel. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I do. Even if it's like even if it seemingly is a very successful method of immediately destabilizing the media landscape. That's my whole job. My whole shtick is to not do that. Is to specifically not do that. Here's some details from ABC News. Let's take a look. 2 National Guardsmen shot near the White House.
I mean, literally, you are, 2 to 3 blocks away from where we are here at our ABC News Bureau. We can see all the rescue crews, the police behind you. Tell us everything you know.
That's right, Kira. And as we ran to this scene, we could see National Guardsmen running here as well. You can see some of them set up here behind me. It is a chaotic scene. We just watched what appeared to be one of those 2 wounded National Guardsmen loaded into an ambulance that just sped off with a police escort. The scene seems to be concentrated, and it's difficult to see through these vehicles, but it seems to be concentrated inside the metro station. So if you look at that fire truck, on the other end of that fire truck is the entrance to the Farragut West metro station. It's often where National Guardsmen stage here in Washington, D.C. as they patrol the metro stations and attempt to keep them safe. And I can tell you, maybe just about an hour ago, Kira, I actually emerged from that metro station and I saw 2 National Guardsmen standing there. There were some others in and around the station. We do not know who was wounded, but we can report, according to 2 sources, that 2 uniformed military personnel were wounded, and sources tell us that the suspect here was also loaded into an ambulance. And it has since somewhat calmed here, although it is chaotic. But I can tell you, just mere minutes ago, Kira, we watched as EMS sprinted up here toward the metro station as tactical units with what appeared to be the Secret Service, because we're only a block away from the White House, also staged here. DC Metro Police as well. Obviously, we are very...
You predicted the MAGA response. Just a few days ago, Sikh Democrats claimed President Trump was issuing... I mean, these guys are so obviously, like... They're so obviously grifting. We don't know any of the details of this incident, and MAGA Twitter has already started blaming Democrats for telling the military to not follow unlawful orders, which is the law. You know, it's just so, it's crazy. Check the location on Twitter. No, it's Benny Johnson. It's Benny Johnson. It's Benny Johnson. He is in America, okay? It's Benny Johnson. We know he's in America, unfortunately. Overseas MAGA or domestic MAGA? No, it's Benny Johnson. It's domestic. He's one of our own. He's homegrown.
We will continue to get more information and bring it to you, but a tragic and a chaotic scene here.
Although technically you could say he's a foreign agent because he does get a Russian paycheck. Like that's not even a suspicion. That is quite literally that is real. Benny Johnson is a foreign agent. He has gotten money from the Russian government specifically to do anti-Ukraine, pro-Russia propaganda. That is not a meme. That is not a joke. That is real. That is the Tenet media controversy that took place. Air travel has been grounded around D.C. Jesus Christ. Okay, I mean, departures to Reagan National Airport grounded due to security incident. I mean, we keep saying, like, is this overreaction much? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The government is going overboard on it, but I don't know why they're doing that. Because we don't know. We don't know what the details are. Benny Johnson received millions of dollars in what the DOJ said was a Russian government propaganda op, but a year later, it turns out no one in the right cares. He retains a fast-growing viewership and what appears to be a voice at the highest levels of the Trump regime. This is true. This is literally what happened, just so you know. He did get money from Tenet Media, from the Russian government directly to do pro-Russian commentary. Libs of TikTok has already moved on and is saying, Libs of TikTok is saying, CNN guest just a few weeks ago compared the National Guard to Nazis. 2 National Guard members were just shot in D.C. These Democrats know exactly what they're doing. They wanted violence against the National Guard. Some MAGA accounts spreading a picture of a naked suspect being handcuffed looks like an Arab Muslim. Whenever this stuff happens, whenever stuff like this happens nowadays, it's just like instantly, instead of people saying, hey, let's wait for more details to come out, it's always first to market. Okay, there is no penalties for it, unfortunately, in this media environment. There are no penalties for being first to market. There's only benefits for being first to market. If you are the first person to quote unquote report on what took place and then instantly lock in what your suspicions are, it's over. Like, look, bro, can you summarize this shit one a day instead of posting this shit every hour? You literally didn't say anything useful again. I get farming, but this is pathetic. Define unlawful. The dots do connect, though. Words have consequences. Yeah, you have to get ahead of it. MK Ultra false flag to give military enlisted appetite for fighting domestic terrorists in the wake of Dems telling them not to obey unlawful orders. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Okay? That's crazy. Yeah, Tim Pool, my sources say Charlie Kirk is stable is another example of this. Aftermath of the shooting in downtown D.C., Guardsmen and multiple people reportedly shot and maybe others. Video passed along from someone nearby. Here, let me scan this real quick. See if there's anything crazy in this video. I guess you can. Oh, you just see an arrest being made, but you can't really tell. It is kind of like a YouTube comment section. They lodged the message on the first few hours because they know most people don't follow up after that and will just carry on with that message in their brains. Yeah, it's the same principle behind botting Reddit. Okay. It's the same principle behind botting Reddit. If you want discourse to flow, you put a narrative out there, and then you instantly get the first couple comments off, and you hit those comments with upvotes, and you set the narrative. And then once you set the narrative, it requires a tremendous amount of undertaking to actually. Anchoring bias is correct. Exactly. Once you literally create the bias narrative, even if it is completely backed up with misinformation. By the way, I don't know what happened. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and act as though I know exactly what the motives of the suspect is. We don't even know if they got the actual suspect, the actual shooter. Okay, but basically, this is exactly how the right operates. In the aftermath of every single shooting, and there are a lot of them in the United States of America, the right will automatically go, this is transgender, this is Antifa, this is the radical left, this is the radical Democrats, right? And they will try to set a narrative. And once additional information comes out that oftentimes will directly contradict that evidence, they'll just move on. They'll either double down because there's no penalties, or they'll just move on to the next story, right? And there is basically nothing. There's basically nothing. There's no defense system. There is no accountability system. to try and get ahead of this like misinformation. And even in this situation, I'm not even saying that this might not be correct. This might not be like I'm not even saying that this isn't one of the few instances where this is like a radical, Democrat or whatever, right? I'm not saying that at all. It could be, but we don't have any evidence for it. And they're just going along with this just like they do every single time. Every single time. Okay? We just simply do not know. We don't know anything yet, right? We don't know what the condition of we don't know the condition of the shooter. We don't know the condition of the National Guardsmen. Like, we're trying to piece together details and try to figure out exactly what took place. But before we can even figure out what the is going on, everyone on the right, including the president, runs along with whatever narrative they want to use. It's crazy. I think this is a very dangerous media environment. Open Presence, thank you for the 20 the subs. Donald J. Trump posts on Truth Social. You want to see the pic of the alleged suspect circulating? It's NSFW? Sure. Who cares about the condition of the shooter? I do. What do you mean? Of course I care about the condition of the shooter. That's how you can figure out if the shooter is still alive or if the shooter is dead. That's how you can actually interrogate the suspect. What do you mean? Was it the actual suspect that they apprehended and shot? Or was it a bystander that they thought was the suspect? Of course you should care about all the details. What are you talking about? This is not a controversial opinion. I cannot believe that this is even being considered as a controversial opinion. What kind of stupidity is running amok in my goddamn chat? Yes, of course you have to care about the condition of the suspect as well. How else are you going to do conduct a serious investigation? It makes it much more difficult to figure out and identify what the motives are. For example, photo of civilian possible suspect in Farragut West shooting, looks like an Arab Muslim. He's handcuffed and stripped. Okay, the idea that like again, they're saying that this is a Arab Muslim. Jesus Christ, dude. Wait, is he fully naked? What the f-? Again, I don't even know if this person is from the shooting. This account claims they took the photo. Source of this picture. If it was a suspect, you really think there would be no police or Secret Service agents surrounding him? Just DCFD? Clearly looks like a person that is being restrained, possibly due to mental health. Probably not even from today or related. It's real, taken directly from above the scene. Yeah, I don't know. I can't trust random anonymous Twitter accounts. It could very well be true, but again, I'm going to maintain my healthy skepticism on who on any of this information until it's coming from a reliable news outlet. And even reliable news outlets can sometimes be a little bit unreliable. All right, the animal that shot the two National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in two separate hospitals, is also severely wounded. But regardless, we'll pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as the President of the United States and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. Are we cooked? I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, we're always cooked, but it's just a matter of how cooked we are. Like, we don't know how cooked we are yet. Everyone in America is cooked, regardless of whatever their politics are. Okay, we are living under the Trump administration. People are cooked because they can't afford things. People are cooked in general. People are cooked because the administration is incompetent. People are cooked because there's an incredible amount of destabilizing misinformation in the current media landscape. We're already cooked, regardless of this shooting. We were cooked yesterday, and we're going to be cooked tomorrow. It's entirely dependent on the details of the shooting and how the administration moves after the shooting. That will determine how cooked we are. We might be deep fried, or we might be, moderately cooked. But we are cooked nonetheless. This shooting is not entirely the reason.
National Guardsmen were shot. The D.C. police say that one suspect is in custody and that the scene is secure. That's according to the D.C. police, according to Kristi Noem, and according to sources who are talking to CNN. Now, our photojournalist Joe Merkel said that a witness to this said that she heard gunshots and that she saw two National Guardsmen getting CPR. That is one detail we can give you according to a witness who spoke to a member of our team here, Joe Merkel. Again, they're trying to secure the scene. They are trying to move move vehicles and people away from this scene so that they can
this?
get some more clearance here, guys. That's what I can tell you from the scene here. We hope to get more information very shortly.
Yeah, an active scene still behind Brian with some traffic moving by, but also blocked off. I want to bring back in our panel as well. Jonathan Wackrow, former Secret Service agent, Chief Charles Ramsey, former Metro Police Chief, and former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Good to have all of you here. Chief, I want to start with you because we heard and saw some of Brian's report there that yes, they had the main portion of the scene, of course, that had investigative value blocked off, but also trying to manage what was clearly a fast-moving, leaving work traffic situation going on the other side of this. When you try to secure a scene like this and obviously begin a very serious investigation into Guardsmen shot here, how do you balance where that scene, where the division of that scene is from where the public can access versus this, and how do you control when this does happen in the middle of a busy metro area like this?
Well, they certainly have enough resources there on the scene. And so they'll be securing the actual location where the shooting took place, but then they have to have a much broader area. And that's why you're starting to see other streets being shut down. They're going to try to identify the people that own the vehicles in that area and get them out of there and so forth. Now we know this person is not only in custody, but severely wounded. So you're not going to get any statements from this individual, but at the same time, they may know exactly who this person is.
But like Trump is saying he's severely wounded. The photo that they're showing that is supposedly the suspect being arrested does not show severe wounding at all. And other resources have said that he's not severely wounded. So are we actually listening to Donald Trump on this? Because I don't know. I know the suspect is in custody, according to the Associated Press. I trust the Associated Press on this. But we don't know the condition of the suspect. The only was also shot and has injuries that are not believed to be life-threatening, the source said. Okay? So the Associated Press is saying that he's not severely wounded. Donald Trump is saying he is severely wounded. Emergency medical responders transported all three victims to a hospital, according to Vito Maggiolo, the public information officer of the D.C. Fire and Emergency Services. I don't like that. I don't like that, you know, every single time something like this happens, there's always the fog of breaking news. And there's a shit ton of misinformation that flies around, but it has gotten significantly worse. And I'm saying this as like someone who's been doing this for 12 years now. Okay. As someone who's been doing this for 12 years and doing live stream broadcasting full time, at least for like the last 7-8 years, it has gotten radioactive. It has gotten significantly worse. Like the media landscape has gotten so much worse in that time frame. Like back in the day, there were some people who would get shit wrong, right? And they would apologize for it. Or they would like immediately come out with new information. They would say, hey, we got this wrong. And it was primarily mainstream resources that would do this, right? Nowadays, nowadays you have official organs of the government. The president himself just like completely obfuscating the truth and basically going along with like biased narratives, making shit up. It's devastating. Do you think it's because of the rise of independent media like TikTok, so it was a rush to market to compete with that? I think there is definitely that definitely plays a role in this. That 100% plays a role in this. But the irony, of course, is that for people like myself, for people who are also capable of critical thinking and media literacy, this is when mainstream resources are more important than ever before. Because I would much rather go to a place where I know has credible, reliable information than be the first to get information that is false. I would rather the mainstream outlets wait for more information to come out instead of rushing to control the narrative, for example. And to their credit, you're glorifying a past that never existed. No, that's not true. That's not true. I think with the way that information disseminated in the past, because it was so heavily, tightly controlled in the hands of like a select few, were there moments were there opportunities for the mainstream to like drive home whatever kind of narrative they wanted? Absolutely. Having said that, in terms of breaking news and information that came out during events like this, the overwhelming prevailing narrative was never whatever some random dipshit made. And yes, if you're talking about foreign policy, that's entirely different. We're talking about domestic breaking news incidents. Okay? What you are describing is something that I'm also very familiar with, something that I talk about quite a bit in terms of creating a unified message on foreign policy that aligns with the State Department goals. The mainstream media has historically always been on board and has always actually misinformed the public in an effort to basically galvanize the public. Dispatch Dev here, so cool to see you play the game. It's amazing. I love it. It feels like a game that was made specifically for me. I know it's not, but it's so perfect for me and this community. Anyway, even though I got cucked in the first 2 episodes, but hopefully we're going to turn it around today. Anyway, I genuinely do not believe that we've ever had. I genuinely don't believe that we've ever had this level of misinformation on domestic incidents and this much misinformation being flung around. There was a punishment. There was also a self-sustaining ecosystem, even in like 2016 or whatever, when right-wingers would come out and say fake shit. There were other right-wingers that would go, okay, well, I don't want to be misinformed. There is definitely something that has changed in the mindset of the collective where people would rather be misinformed in a biased fashion than to know what the truth is now. Like, I think our collective consciousness has shifted. It's no longer relegated to like the edges of the internet or anything. It's just like literally we are now officially living in an era where people would much rather not know what the truth is and go along with whatever bias that they had beforehand on any incident. I mean, even the Charlie Kirk, Israel killed Charlie Kirk narratives was a great example of this. Like that, like one singular figure, Candace Owens, who's now saying that the French government is trying to assassinate her and may have even played a role in the assassination of Charlie Kirk on top of like Israel. But that one singular person was able to literally single-handedly change the goals of the federal government, change the goals of the White House in terms of the biased narrative that they were going along with in the Charlie Kirk assassination. They wanted to be like, this is a trans-Antifa assassination, and they came out of the gates swinging in that regard. And then Candace Owens came up and was like, no, Charlie Kirk was my bestie, was my work wife, and I think it was Israel. And that threw a wrench in the plans of the government. It's crazy. What is that, if not a clear-cut indication that it's actually like that people can just like make up shit or go along with unreliable narratives that as long as like enough people are committed to believing, you can get, you can actually change the way that people are dialoguing on whatever new incident that took place, even if there is enough bias and enough momentum from the government. The French gendarmerie killing Charlie Kirk because Brigitte Macron is transgender is like a parody of a conspiracy theory, but Candace heads still believe it. If it's crazy, I know.
At least a visual of
I know, it's nuts.
What happened as it was happening.
Director, FBI Director Cash Patel on scene after the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen. I mean, he's gonna f this up, and I'm telling you right now, not only is he gonna f this up, and that's a given, but not only is he gonna f this up, but also when he f this up, it's going to turn into he's gonna get fired after he f this up. That's what I'm calling, okay? Because especially the private jet stuff for his girlfriend was, I think, seemingly enough, or maybe a bridge too far for even the administration, even the Trump administration, that there was enough like there was a lot of criticism of Kash Patel in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk stuff, and then it reached a boiling point with the private jet incident and his incompetence and his endless need to be in front of the camera and reveal far too much information about like ongoing investigations that end up creating an environment for defense attorneys to yell about prosecutorial bias is paired up with the fact that his girlfriend was taking like private jets, like the FBI's private jet, to and from Mar-a-Lago and stuff. I think led to at least some feelers being thrown out in the media. There was the MS Now report. That came out claiming that Kash Patel might be on the verge of being fired. House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, what? This has nothing to do with what I was talking about. Kash Patel's girlfriend suggests that, wait, what? Kash Patel's girlfriend suggests that Senator Mark Kelly's video is responsible for the shooting of the National Guard. Okay, this is the narrative, I guess. This is the narrative for MAGA. They're going to say Mark Kelly is responsible for the National Guardsmen being shot. They're not going to go with like, this is trans Antifa. They're going to say this is actually the Democrats. Liberal Democrats are responsible for this because they said that a couple liberal Democrats came out with a video saying that you have a duty to not follow unlawful orders. This was from a couple days ago. A bunch of Democrats came out and posted a video. Does anyone have the video? I'll just show it to you right now. It's crazy because like there are different routes that they can go with, and this is one of them, and they are predictably choosing the dumbest one, I think. They can't say Antifa as there is no Antifa. Like you keep saying there's no prominent left wing that people can point to. Yeah. Trump backs Kash Patel after a report that he considered. Here was the Kash Patel saga. Trump said he backs Kash Patel after there was a report a report came out that said that he was considering ousting the FBI director. But reports like that don't get floated around unless there is already discontent. Okay. This kind of information only comes out because there are some people in those rooms that are sending this information to the media. Okay. It's usually you feed it, you quote unquote leak it, so you test out whether or not, like how the public will respond to it. Trump comes out and says it's fake news. It doesn't really matter. A couple weeks later, you'll see whether or not it was fake news or not. Okay. The Roach King is already running with that narrative right now on his channel. It's also your fault. Yeah, everyone has their own version of everyone has their own dog in this fight, right? Asmongold has horse blinders on, and I'm his number one op, so of course he's going to always lead back every new thing that happens in the media back to me. But that is utterly irrelevant. That is utterly irrelevant. What's more relevant is, I think, what MAGA Twitter is going off of. And MAGA Twitter is saying that it's like the Democrats that was the big story, right? The big story for MAGA this past week was that Democrats were saying that, you have a duty not to follow unlawful orders in the military. And that's, I think, the reason why these guys are all going along with that narrative, saying that it's the Democrats that said you have a duty in the military to not follow, defy unlawful orders. Here, this is the video. Okay, breaking: elected Democrats just released a video encouraging members of the military to commit treason and defy orders for Trump and Hexeth. They did not do that. They actually elected Democrats, and all of them are either like CIA or actually. Are veterans themselves. They did not actually say you should commit treason. They said you have a duty not to follow unlawful orders. That is the truth. That is literally one of the most important differentiating factors within the American military as opposed to other militaries in general. Go offline. Okay, you got it.
Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
No is treason. Trump is correct. Dog, the American military literally has, like, this is different from other militaries around the world. Whether people oblige or not doesn't matter, okay? But having said that, it is literally a rule in the rule books, okay? It is a part of the code of military conduct. It is right there when you're swearing your oath. It straight up says you as a sworn officer have, or a military active duty service member, have a duty to not abide by unlawful orders. Okay. This is simply, you can even disobey a superior officer. Disobey a superior officer. Defenses to the UCMJ Article 90 and UCMJ Article 92. Okay. It is a part of the military code of conduct in the United States of America. In the United States of America, this is a part of the military code of conduct, okay? Their oath is to the Constitution and not to their commanding officers or their superior officers, and that therefore, if their commanding or superior officers give them an unlawful order, right? Like execute a prisoner of war, for example, you have a duty not to oblige, okay? It is illegal to execute a prisoner of war, for example, right? You're not supposed to do that. If your superior officer gives you an order to execute a prisoner of war, you literally can say, no, I refuse. You will still most likely get thrown in prison, okay? You will still most likely get thrown in prison, but the reality of the matter is the courts, like military courts, will find you to be acting out in a lawful manner. Of course, if the action is deemed lawful, then that soldier is royally This is true, but it doesn't matter. Okay? West Virginia governor is claiming that both of the Guardsmen have passed away, but I don't know how much we know about the I don't know. I don't know if I can actually trust the West Virginia governor here, but it is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues. I guess we can trust the governor on this. I don't know. The entire state grieves. I don't know what to trust anymore. You're wrong, bro. Just admit it. Trump was right about everything. Yes, you're correct. Trump is right about everything. I mean, I guess if he's saying it, I mean, he is in charge of, he would know. Because if these were West Virginian National Guardsmen, then he would probably know. Is the Associated Press reporting on their deaths? If they are, then yes, this is real. National Guards members have died in the shooting near two West Virginia. Okay, so both of the National Guards members from West Virginia were killed. Two West Virginia National Guards members shot Wednesday near the White House have died, the state's governor has said. Governor Patrick Morrisey confirmed their deaths in a social media post. A suspect now in custody. Was also shot and has injuries that are not believed to be life-threatening. The source said one National Guard member was shot in the head, according to a person familiar with the details of the incident who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about, the reason why the Republicans have decided to attack these Democrats, specifically Mark Kelly, is because of this video. Okay, this video came out last week, November 18th, 2025. They released this video saying you have a duty not to follow unlawful orders if your superior officer commands you to do something that is unlawful. Okay? And this seemingly is the direction that they're going to take this this incident in. Okay, here, this is the video.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution,
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
Yeah. This is literally just correct. Okay? This is just straight up a thing you can say. Okay? This is as totally normal of a thing to say as is like you have a First Amendment right, you have a Fourth Amendment right. You know what I mean? If they came out and basically said like, oh, you know, you have a right to not you have a right to not get harassed by police officers and have them break into your house. Like, you should know your rights. You know how like ICE, there are you know, anti-ICE initiatives from like the ACLU that will tell people both in Spanish and in English like what rights you have if there is a raid being conducted. If there is a raid being conducted on your home, if they don't have a judicial warrant, they do not have a right to come into your house, right? They will try to trick you. They will try to break into your house. Like, basically saying that these are your constitutional laws, or these are your constitutional rights, is not actually something that is illegal. It is illegal to technically violate the Constitution.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Yeah. And for the record, they launched an investigation into Mark Kelly. Yeah, the White House has supported the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly, and I think what Senator Mark Kelly was actually trying to do is intimidate the 1.3 million active service members. That is ridiculous. Remember, the American military is vast. The American military is diverse. The American military reflects the American government and the American population, and therefore there are a lot of libs in the American military as well. The idea that this is like the idea that this is what is happening here was like already super illegal is really silly and really stupid. But the FBI was seeking interviews with them lawmakers over the video because it's lawfare, it's intimidation. They're trying to, it's not going to work. Or even them trying to tie this new shooting that took place that killed 2 National Guardsmen from West Virginia in D.C. This is breaking news for those of you just tuning in. Them trying to tie it back to these 6 Democrat lawmakers is idiotic, okay?
With 6 Democratic lawmakers over this video they posted on social media with a message to service members.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, this is it, okay? At West Point, cadets walk past a plaque that says our officers must follow the law if orders ever conflict with it. That is how our military has protected this nation for generations. This is somewhat unique to the American military, for the record, okay? It is quite literally, a fundamental difference with many other nations' militaries, okay? That the military, first and foremost, serves the Constitution, does not serve the whims of the president. I'm not like getting super libbed up here. It's just facts, okay? Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law, okay? It is super clear cut. It is super duper clear cut. It's an important statement. And the very fact that these 6 Democratic lawmakers are reflecting on this does not mean you can't consider this to be treason. Okay, it's completely ridiculous. The United States boldly broke with the ancient military custom of swearing loyalty to a leader. Article 6 required that American officers thereafter swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. Okay? While many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. How does this even link to the shooting? I'm confused. This links to the shooting because the Republicans are trying to link it back to these Democrats. Okay? Not only did they try to get the FBI to investigate these lawmakers, Donald Trump said that these Democratic lawmakers were actually committing treason and must be punished severely, killed. Okay? And the Republicans, in the immediate aftermath of any new shooting, have decided that they are going to look for scapegoats. One of the scapegoats that they've identified, because this was like the last thing that Republicans were lasered in on, is the 6 Democratic lawmakers that came out with this video. One of the people that on MAGA Twitter that I identified early on was doing this was Benny Johnson. Okay? Just a few days ago, 6 Democrats claimed President Trump. It was 47 minutes ago. This is before we even knew that the National Guardsmen were actually killed, right? Just a few days ago, 6 Democrats claimed President Trump was issuing unlawful orders to the military and the troops must resist. 2 National Guards members were just targeted and shot in Washington, D.C. I reposted to say, we don't know any of the details of the incident. MAGA Twitter has already started blaming Democrats for telling the military not to follow, blaming Democrats for telling the military to not follow unlawful orders, which is the law. Okay? It is ridiculous. They say woke-stitution. They're honestly really stupid. The Constitution was designed to protect everyday people and workers, to make sure they are represented. If you think that's a bad thing, you're stupid. I mean, Republicans have never actually given a shit about the Constitution. Let's be real. But they do lean into it as though they are the protectors. Now, here's Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, who also said, leaning into what Eric Doherty had said, who was another conservative MAGA Twitter guy, Democrats told the country that President Trump is giving illegal orders to the military and that it is incumbent upon the military to rebel or they're betraying the country and Constitution. Alexis Wilkins said, while everyone on X is fighting, the left is still attacking people who wear the uniform and support this country simply for doing so. There are more important things in this world and far bigger enemies who actually hate us and do, in fact, want to kill us. Pray. Here is, from 2 days ago, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about how the White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly for that same video that I showed you earlier.
The White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly, and I think what Senator Mark Kelly was actually trying to do was intimidate the 1.3 million active duty service.
Yeah, if you tell people not to speed or if you tell people to stop at traffic stops, okay, you're actually intimidating the 100 million commuters. Okay, you're intimidating them. You know, when you tell. I mean, they do unironically do this when Tom Homan goes on television and says like, oh, the ACLU telling people what their rights are is actually impeding on our active investigations. Like they should stop telling people. It should be illegal to inform people what their constitutional rights are. So like they are unironically waging war against the American Constitution. They are unironically waging war against the truth. So this is not new. It's just that the government itself is actively taking the initiative now to try and make it seem as though it is treason to reflect on the pre-existing duty, the pre-existing oath that active duty service members take to the Constitution and the rules that determine the rules that actually the rules that are actually different than other militaries of other nations that say if you are given an unlawful order, if there's a contradiction between the order that was issued to you and the law, you should follow the law. You must follow the law.
members who are currently serving in our United States Armed Forces with that video that he and his Democrat colleagues put out. Senator Mark Kelly well knows the rules of the military and the respect that one must have for the chain of command, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks. And
she accidentally said it and then had to stop. Look. You hear this? Look.
Service members. You can't have a functioning all orders that one must have for the chain of command, and that all orders.
I mean, all orders. She tried to literally shit on Mark Kelly and defend this investigation that is happening into Mark Kelly, and then repeated what Mark Kelly was saying while simultaneously claiming it's treasonous. There you go. All orders are lawful. No, it's not. It quite literally is not the case. That's the reason why there's a distinction here. So stupid.
Orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members.
And no, not every single order made by the president is lawful. Okay? As a matter of fact, with this president, definitely not lawful. Okay? It is ridiculous. Yeah, presumed to be lawful. All orders made by the president are presumed to be lawful. No, that's not how that works. Yeah, the other meta is blaming CNN and saying that like CNN is also instigating this violence against the National Guards. Like it doesn't really work for the Democrats in general. It doesn't really work for the Democrats in general because like Democrats don't say anything even remotely violent. And even if you were to say something about someone like myself, like I don't actually shit on the National Guard in general. I do think that it's illegal to deploy the National Guard. I think it's silly to deploy the National Guard. Having said that, I've never demanded violence against the National Guard either. So like they're just gonna try and fling shit at the wall to see what sticks. And there's not really many people, especially amongst the liberal American commentariat and the liberal American base of support in general, that actually shits on the National Guard. Most people just go, these are our neighbors as well, and they have a lot of reverence for the military in general. So I don't necessarily see any of this stuff sticking. I mean, it didn't even stick with the ICE agents that were shot by, again, another or not the ICE agents that were shot. He didn't actually shoot the ICE agents. He was trying to shoot the ICE agents allegedly, and then ended up shooting a bunch of people in custody and killing a bunch of people in custody. But even then, they were trying to be like, this is the trans Antifa leftists doing this shit. And it,
No one has to carry out
reverence. You mean fear and dread? No, liberals, the average liberal has tremendous respect for not only just the National Guard, but just the military in general. What are you talking about? Liberals love the military. Americans, by and large, have a lot of respect for the military. Much of that respect is just like, oh, you must salute the military, but or it's just like a talking point that people repeat over and over again. But there is definitely a real level of respect for active duty service members. Yeah, did that chatter just forget the past 4 years of Joe Biden ending every single goddamn speech with "God bless our troops"? Yeah, God bless America, God bless our troops. Just a few weeks ago, Oregon Congresswoman Maxine Dexter said the National Guard coming to cities is tyrannical and dangerous. Yeah, this is correct. It is tyrannical and dangerous. They're not blaming the National Guardsmen for it. They're blaming the president for it. These guys are so stupid.
Maxine Dexter, Oregon's 3rd, checking in after what I would say is an indefensible ruling by the Ninth Circuit that opens the door to National Guard troops being deployed in our peaceful city. Let's just be clear. Portland is not lawless. We have been extraordinary in our resistance to Donald Trump's fairy tale about our city. We have remained peaceful, persistent, and clear that we do not bend the knee to Donald Trump and his wannabe kingmanship.
I like that this is somewhat MAGA coded because she's in a moving vehicle. Okay. Doing this front-facing camera in a moving vehicle is very MAGA coded. Respect.
And we will continue to be so. This ruling must be challenged, and we must remain steadfast in our peaceful resistance to Donald Trump, the tyranny he is trying to take onto our cities and across this country, and what I would say is an extraordinarily dangerous
It seems she's not driving. I know. That's why it's not MAGA coded. She's not wearing a skin-tight Oakleys around her face. I'm taking points off for not wearing skin-tight Oakleys, not actually driving, and the Alex Jones method, which is the best version of this, where Alex Jones not only is driving, but also holding his phone with one hand and then swapping hands and grabbing the wheel sometimes, not all the time. Oftentimes, both hands are off the wheel and using his hand to communicate while holding his phone like this and wearing a seatbelt too. Again, less MAGA points for that too.
By militarizing our city and moving towards a dictatorship. We will be united. We will remain peaceful. I was just in D.C. trying to work out how we were going to get out of this government shutdown, and I'm heading back to Portland now so I can be with you tomorrow. Let's continue to stay loud, stay peaceful, and I'll see you soon.
How are people connected? Can you please explain the conservative logic behind connecting Mark Kelly's statements to National Guardsmen being targeted? I'm so confused about this connection. Okay, I'm going to give you homework, okay? Take the biggest frying pan you have in your kitchen and slam your head with the frying pan until your prefrontal cortex is reduced to nothing. Okay? And once you get to that level of stupidity, you will be able to understand. You will be able to understand this connection. You will start making connections where no such connections exist. Okay? If you lobotomize yourself, the John Fetterman method, okay? If you have a life-altering aneurysm through a blood clot in your brain, you will be able to start making these connections that other fake news demon rats are incapable of making. Other things you can do. Lead exposure. Okay, crunching on the popcorn ceilings that you might have in your home, like to get asbestos poisoning. Taking out the batteries from your carbon monoxide warning system in your house, and then turning on your grills so that there's a gas leak going on. Like, these are the many different ways in which you can become a Republican, and then you will understand how they make these connections. The point I'm trying to make is there is no real connection. There is none. There's none at all. They are trying to actively tie these two things together, even though the inciting incident is not even something that's worthy of scrutiny. It's just Mark Kelly and 5 other Democratic lawmakers telling the military that they have a duty not to follow unlawful orders. That's it. They are reflecting on the pre-existing code of conduct within the United States military. This is not treason. No matter how hard Donald Trump claims it is, no matter how much they yell about it, it's not treason. Okay? Mercury might be quicker if they play with the forbidden liquid. Yeah. Here's Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. There's another person that they're yelling at. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson leading a protest against the National Guard with disgusting signs demonizing them. The disgusting signs are "No soldiers in our streets." Union strong. Vote blue. Look at these disgusting signs. Fire RFK Jr. before more people get sick and die. Another sign that says, you know, Trump is a dictator. Yeah, we don't negotiate with fascists. No troops in Chicago. You know, incredibly stupid shit. Yeah. They should have signs that instead say yes to troops in Chicago. Please, more military deployment at the domestic front, please. This is what we demand. Great. Now, J.D. Vance is going to speak on the shooting, but I did want to also add one other thing to the conversation. In their endless interest of flinging shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, Libs of TikTok is also claiming that a CNN guest just a few weeks ago compared the National Guard to Nazis. 2 National Guard members were just shot in D.C. These Democrats know what they're doing. This is what led to it. Also, the person that she's calling a former Democrat or a Democrat is actually a Major General Randy Manner, the former acting vice chief of the National Guard Bureau. Just a Democrat.
Actually, what the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s. Actually, what the president is.
Wow. Guys, once again, Phoenix emoji. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs. Now, I do need you to understand something here, okay? All of this comes down to one singular need. Wait, what? Morsi is walking his previous statement? Breaking. Morsi has now walked it back, saying we are now receiving conflicting reports about the condition of our 2 Guard members. What the f did I tell you? What the f did I tell you? Okay. What did I tell you? I mean, it could still be very well true for the record. His previous statement could very well still be true. I wasn't here. What did he say? When the initial report came out from Governor Patrick Morrisey that both of the National Guardsmen had been killed, like both of the National Guardsmen that were shot were shot and sent to the hospitals, and that they had been killed, I said, let's just wait, because even the governor might get it wrong. It's just, accidents happen in moments like this, and people are in a rush to be first to first to inform the public. I'm not as mad at the governor for doing this, because this is more so like an unfortunate mistake rather than someone who is like deliberately trying to spark up drama and chaos. How do you fuck that up as a goddamn heart monitor? Because he's not there.
Joey, a big development, and one that I would pray to say may be happy. The governor of West Virginia has just provided an update saying we are now getting conflicting reports about the conditions, and that we will provide additional updates once we receive more complete information. This is Patrick Morrisey, Republican governor of West Virginia, who had made the news on social media just a few minutes ago that those service members had died. His latest statement indicates that he's getting conflicting information. Joey, it's an emergency. There's chaos. There's absolutely a lot of back and forth happening between the governor's mansion.
AP said they're dead following the reporting of the governor, though. See? They haven't even updated yet. This is new. Remember, when you come to the Hasanabi broadcast, when you come here, the Piker Broadcasting Service, when breaking news is happening, we oftentimes have information before the producers get to it in all of these other media outlets. Do you understand? Which is why there is no, which is why the reporting has not changed yet. But I'm sure if we keep refreshing this page, eventually the AP will also say that the Governor Patrick Morrisey confirmed their deaths and then went back on it. Was rewatching your Lena Khan interview the other day, and you had her thoughts on a recent ruling in the FTC's favor before anyone else? Yeah. This is also why you don't like covering breaking news? Yes. There's a reason why I don't like covering breaking news. This is it. Because there's already a structural issue with instantly. There is already a problem with there's already a problem with reporting in real time on stuff like this because there's a lot of chaos. That's why I more so focus on the immediate narratives that come from MAGA in moments like this, while weighing the accuracy and the veracity of the information that's coming from reliable sources, the governor being a reliable source, even though I was still skeptical of the governor's initial statement because it's too, everyone has the capacity to get something wrong. Okay. Yes, the governor in this circumstance, as someone who has direct knowledge of the National Guard and troop positions and what they're up to, would probably have verified information. So it's understandable to assume the governor is working with reliable information. Okay, credible information. And the Associated Press, because it's such credible information that the Associated Press also went along with it and said that the 2 West Virginia National Guard members were killed. Because if you look at their reporting, it says Governor Patrick Morrisey confirmed their deaths in a social media post. Notice how they didn't independently verify it because they assume that the governor of West Virginia is not going to speculate. Except in 2025, you definitely do need to go and find additional sources. That's just the truth. Especially because the West Virginia governor is now walking that back. We are now receiving conflicting reports about the condition of our 2 Guards members. But we don't know. They might have still passed away. I'm just saying that the only source of credible information on this has come from the governor. No one has independently verified this. As far as I've seen so far, none of the outlets have independently verified this, and they're reporting on it off of what the governor has said. Okay? But to be fair, the governor's initial statement might be correct. Remember, the governor's initial statement might be correct. They might have actually passed away. Okay? How do you independently verify? You send a reporter to the hospital. That's how you independently verify. You get a reporter to call up the hospital. You send a reporter physically to the hospital. That is how you would independently verify it. You would have to go and confirm with a first-hand account. Confirm now, I think? No, this is the old post. That's private info, though? What do you mean that's private information? What are you talking about? This is information that's important for the public to know. This is the most consequential national news story right now.
If these are his troops, as well as what's happening here in the nation's capital. But some slimmer of good news that perhaps at least one or both of these service members may be okay. The governor went on to say our prayers are with these brave service members, their families, and the entire Guard community. I would imagine we'd get a much more definitive stance of where things are when we have the official update from D.C. police, as well as top federal law enforcement.
HIPAA, the hospital will not inform you on the patient's status unless you're a relative. I know. I'm saying that... I'm saying that you go and you try to verify through someone who is a doctor or through someone who is there. You can get additional confirmation, okay? You can go to the National Guard. You can go to immediate family members. You ask a relative. The relatives will know. The relatives will be informed. Chatters can't conceptualize that while family members have the right to deny sharing information, they can also choose to disclose it to a reporter if asked. Exactly. There are a bunch of people... that are no, you can't verify from the doctor. That's illegal. It would have to be a non-medical professional. So wrong. Okay. Not the doctor, not the healthcare professionals. You can, there are methods of verification is all I'm saying. Okay. You can ask the immediate family members. The governor jumped the gun, in my opinion. It's not policy to release that information until the family has been informed. The point I'm making is that it can be independently verified. Okay.
Officers, the governor of West Virginia here clarifying his statement on social media. No indication that these service members may be out of the woods. Of course.
Also, you still can ask the doctor. The doctor won't tell you, but you can still ask.
Of course not. This is horrific, and it just happened within the last 2 hours. But there is that possibly slimmer of good news that maybe one or both of those service members may still be alive. It's you imagine when Joey, there's a lot of crossed wires here, medical conditions, people in the hospital trying to convey what's going on. But the official word has not come down from federal law enforcement. Instead, that was the governor of West Virginia who said that. Joey, the second I hear any more, and we're praying for all of those service members, we'll let you know. Joey.
My simple point that I was making was that news outlets should still try and independently verify this on their own by going to additional sources, whether it be the family members or whether it be people that were, eyewitnesses to what took place, and try to independently confirm whether or not what the governor said was correct. Having said that, however, the governor is a reliable source of information under normal circumstances, which is why it's understandable that they're still going with this. They're going along with the fact that the 2 National Guardsmen were shot near the White House. They changed it. Oh, shit. They changed it. They were saying initially the Chiron said 2 National Guardsmen dead. Now they changed it back to 2 National Guardsmen shot near the White House. See, they're updating it. The AP is not slop, chatters. It's the governor. Like, of course, there's conflicting information. Okay. This was the initial statement, and everybody took it as, understandably, all the mainstream media sources took this as like truth. And then the governor came back and said, my bad. We're now receiving conflicting reports. The governor should be a trustworthy primary source. Exactly. Under normal circumstances, it is. But I was skeptical because, unfortunately, the year 2025, maybe the governor is not a reliable source of information. Okay, that's it. But they might as well, they could be dead. Okay, I'm not even saying that they're alive. I'm saying that there's a high likelihood that they are dead. Anyway, meanwhile, this is what Fox News is doing.
Lost friends in combat. I've lost friends in combat. And so we know what this is like. So let's all pray for the families here. But then let's ask ourselves, how did we get here? How are we in this spot? So there's a sitting member of Congress who over the weekend on some talk shows was saying that President Donald Trump putting National Guardsmen on the streets was an unlawful order. We have people on CNN, a competing network, saying that putting National Guards people on the street is equivalent to Nazi Germany. So this inflammatory...
I need you to understand something. This is so stupid, but all of this is happening primarily because they just don't want anyone to criticize the administration. Okay? That's it. There is no veracity. There is no accuracy. They're just mad that people are saying that the admin is up and wrong. Whichever word that the critics of the admin use is completely inconsequential. Ultimately, their anger comes from the fact that Democrats are saying this is wrong, and the administration and all of the Republicans don't want people to actually express discontent. They do not want to hear dissent. That is the reason why they keep saying, you're not just criticizing my actions, okay? You are actually engaging in violent rhetoric. Words are violence. Not when we do it, by the way, okay? Not when we do it. Not when we say, not when we scream bloody murder, or not when we say, Democrats deserve the death penalty. That's not words are violence. Words are only violence when you criticize my favorite president, okay? They do not want there to be any sort of discontent. They do not want there to be any sort of dissent. They do not want anyone to say what the government is doing is wrong, what Trump is doing is wrong. That's it. That's where this is coming from. So they just use incidents like this to drive home this narrative that Democrats aren't just saying what the Trump administration is doing is wrong. They're doing something beyond that. They're actually demanding that people go and kill National Guardsmen. That's not the case at all. Okay? That's not even remotely the case at all. And if anyone has any critical thinking skills, they understand that that is not the case at all. Of course, you're going to criticize the goddamn administration. That's one of the most redeemable aspects of American existence. What the are we talking about? Like, I thought this was America, you know? And I'm saying that, like, unironically, I'm saying that sincerely. Okay? That is the fundamental American difference. Okay? You can and should criticize the government. And this is a value that Americans care about quite a bit. Okay? This is a value that the American government cares about and the American population cares about. You cannot just go, free speech is woke, shut up. You're not allowed to do it. It's not going to work. Republicans themselves will get mad at this, and they have gotten mad at this. So what these guys are doing in this circumstance is trying to say, your criticisms of the big, beautiful president doing his very best are actually causing this kind of violence to take place. Bullshit. No American's going to believe that, especially because these guys also blow their loads on Democrats who are unimaginably careful with their rhetoric, sometimes even to a fault. Democrats are not even fighters in general. They're not seen as aggressive, right? They're seen as cowards for the most part. So when you turn around and you say, oh, these guys are actually really violent and scary people because they have said that what the government is doing is wrong, and this is actually violent rhetoric directed against the National Guard, when all of these people are like active duty or former military members and members of the CIA and stuff like that, who shy away from any sort of spicy rhetoric whatsoever, let alone barely put up a fight in their communication against the Trump administration. It's not going to stick. Most people are just going to be like, dude, what the are you talking about?
Rhetoric by the left has to stop. Now, did this drive this shooter? We don't know the answer to that question. But did it prevent him from doing it? Hell no. So my Democrat colleagues need to understand that their words have real consequences.
Again, words are violence, words are violence, words are violence. Claiming words are violence over and over again after spending the last decade claiming words are violence and doing words are violence narratives after spending the last decade being like woke libtards are doing cancel culture is just not going to work, okay? It is one of those things where, like, yes, Republicans don't really give a shit about hypocrisy in general, but this is one area where Republicans do also get annoyed with the notion that, you know, words are violence, especially when it's coming from the Republican side. Not all of them. Plenty of them actually do repeat this kind of narrative, but there are significant numbers of Republicans that will actually criticize the government for taking any heavy-handed approach in terms of punishments against people who are exercising their First Amendment rights. Okay? That's it. Here, going back to Mark Kelly, by the way, with respect to what this guy was talking about, trying to tie this back to Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly is the astronaut, yes, with a twin. Yes, he is the NASA astronaut, Arizona senator. Let's take a look.
Let me first just get your response to this threat from the Defense Department saying that they are investigating you. They may potentially recall you to active duty to face a court-martial.
Well, Rachel, I said something that was pretty simple and non-controversial, and that was that members of the military should follow the law. And
yeah, it's true. I don't even like Mark Kelly. I think he sucks, for the record. I don't like his politics. I think he's an annoying centrist Democrat. Having said that, he is 100% correct, okay? I hate Elisa Slotkin even more than I despise Mark Kelly. And what she said was 100% correct. All of these Democrats that came out and said, you, members of the military, have a duty to protect the oath that you swore to the Constitution. You have a duty to protect the Constitution and follow the Constitution and follow the rules. And if there are conflicting orders that your superior officer is giving you that actually force you to violate the law, then you follow the law. That is a part of the military code of conduct. Saying that and reiterating that is not seditious. Saying that and reiterating that is not treason. Okay? These are Democrats who I don't actually agree with and don't really like all that much, saying something incorrect. Unc, why you always mad? I don't know, because the entirety of the media organ on the right is currently trying to say that like Democratic senators are actually responsible for 2 National Guardsmen that may or may not have been killed. We don't actually have full-blown confirmation on it at this moment. Are killed because 6 Democratic lawmakers said that the military has a duty to serve the Constitution and not follow unlawful orders. Okay? This is a ridiculous media environment that we're existing in before even fully comprehending whether or not the National Guardsmen were even shot and killed. Okay? We know that they were shot at. We don't even know that they're like fully killed or not. And there are already a bunch of psychotic right-wingers that are running to drive home this narrative that like Democratic lawmakers are responsible for this shooting. And they do this every single time, dude. They do this even when Democratic lawmakers are shot. It's very frustrating. They have like a couple different talking points, right? They have different thought bubbles that they can engage with. They have like a what is the term? Like a tree, you know? They have talking points that you can click on. Trans, Antifa, Democrats, radical left. They have a dialogue tree. And this time, they basically decided to click on the radical Democrats dialogue tree, okay? Disco Elysium tree. Yeah, exactly. What is this? President Trump orders Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to surge 500 more National Guard troops in the Washington, D.C. after today's shooting. Someone targeted National Guardsmen. We will never back down. We will secure our capital and our cities.
Productive meetings, but I want to start.
I do think that in this also media landscape, people are gonna say this is a false flag. That is the other side of this. Like, I think that dark woke will probably say this is a false flag to continue beefing up and justify an overreaction from the administration. So that's what I suspect is going on the liberal front. I haven't really seen that as much so far, but I do suspect that they will say, Blue Anon will say this is a false flag.
By saying after those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best.
Don't give them any ideas. Look, man, look, I'm just observing, okay? Analysis is not endorsement. Analysis is not justification. I'm just observing it, okay? That's my job. My role in this insane media landscape is to look at every single ideological tendency and what kind of narrative they're running with. You can't say false flag didn't cross your mind. I mean, probably not if the National Guardsmen were killed, you know?
Of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community.
The reason why I don't immediately run to false flag narratives, even if it's like convenient for my ideological position, the reason why I don't immediately rush to false flag narratives is because we live in the United States of America, okay? Any other country, there is more credibility that this could be a false flag incident. But in the United States of America, we have more guns in circulation than we have people. We also have a litany of mental health complications. So anytime a shooting happens, okay, anytime a shooting happens, the highest likelihood almost always is like a crazy person, okay? That's just it. That's just the reality. It's just like as normal as apple pie at this point. Like shootings taking place, whether it be a high-profile political commentator in a school, or whether it be a Republican politician, or whether it be a Democratic politician, the highest likelihood, more often than not, is some crazy white boy who wanted to take matters into his own hands and went a little nutty mode with it. Okay, that's usually what it is. Which is why I don't immediately go, oh, this is a false flag. This isn't to say that I don't think their false flags don't happen. I just feel like we have designed a powder keg here. We have designed an environment here that requires no false flags to take place whatsoever. We're just kind of always killing ourselves every single day, you know? And things also are getting worse and worse year over year. So oftentimes oftentimes it strikes me as you know, yet another day in the United States of America. The U.S. empire's history is full of false flags. I feel like it's weird to always write off the possibility. No. I'm not always writing off the possibility. I'm just saying that I need more evidence and I need more motives, and I need more information on the suspect itself before saying that. And in the absence of such evidence, I am going to assume that it's yet another day in the United States of America. Do you understand? Anyway, Vance says we just don't want people who mindlessly follow orders. We want people who think.
Something really interesting. And a guy said to me something really interesting. He said that 250 years ago, when the army started, there was a Prussian military leader who came over and helped train the very first United States Army. Because, of course, back then, we didn't have very many military experts in our country. We were still in our infancy. And what he said was very fascinating. I think the guy's name, he said, was von Steuben. Von Steuben said that it was only the Americans who just didn't need an order, but also needed to be told why they were doing what they were doing. And I thought that was a fascinating insight to the soldiers of 250 years ago, and a fascinating insight to the soldiers of today. We don't just want people who mindlessly follow orders. We want people who think. Because
unless they're following the president's orders, in which case we want them to mindlessly follow orders. And if someone actually says this exact same thing, but they're a Democrat, then they're going to prison. Okay. Wow. Look at this. Hope you and the dog are okay. Hope nothing too electrifying happened. No, I'm electrocuting her right now. I'm hitting the button of electrocution right at this moment. Because you said that, I'm electrocuting her extra hard. Yeah, JD Vance can say it. As I was saying, stop, please, no. Yeah, it's your fault, chatter. Yeah, when JD Vance says this, it's not seditious. Okay? When a Democrat says this, it is sedition. I'm a vet. This is literally not true. The military does not want people questioning orders. I mean, yeah, that's kind of against the military, the military's primary directive. Having said that, however, the American military does 10,000 volts to Kaya. Good job, chatter. Yeah, he did that.
Because we know that the most powerful weapon in the United States arsenal, the most powerful weapon anywhere in the world, it's not a rifle, it's not a tank, it's not a helicopter or an airplane. The most dangerous and lethal weapon anywhere in the world is a United States soldier, and we're proud of you, and we're going to stand behind you every step of the way.
This is why certain streamers call you a lib. Not saying you're wrong because you're right, but simply covering what happens to these centers is enough for them to latch onto. It's annoying how they're not recognizing that they only covering softball right-wing alt media stories makes it almost hard not to stay pure. Yeah, my primary job, my primary responsibility to my audience and to those who actually come in here is to always, to the best of my ability, accurately reflect on events that are taking place and offer you the best possible analysis. I do not care about the different competing ideological battles that are taking place. I have my own personal biases. I will always tell you what they are. Having said that, especially when it comes to stuff like this, like my job, my responsibility is to inform you. Okay, my job and my responsibility is to look at the situation, and even if it's actually not helpful to my cause, is to still do my very best to give you the accurate information. And I think it's very important to do that, especially in a dangerous and divisive media landscape like this, where disinformation, specifically biased disinformation, runs amok. That is my job. Anyway, here is Kash Patel,
Americans and citizens around the world,
soon to be former FBI Director Kash Patel, going back to his podcasting.
We must remember them on this day and every day, and their families and the sacrifice they have made. I will now turn it over to Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
Good afternoon,
Oh
everyone.
my
Name is
God.
Jeff Carroll. I'm the Executive Assistant
Oh
Chief
my
of the Metropolitan
God.
Police Department. At approximately 2:15 this afternoon, members of the D.C. National Guard were on high visibility patrols in the area of 17th
I'm not gonna say
and I
anything.
Street Northwest when a suspect came around the
This,
corner, raised
I mean,
his arm
this
with a
speaks for
firearm and
itself.
discharged it at the National Guard members. The National Guard members, there were other members that were in the area. They were able to, after some back and forth, able to subdue the individual and bring them into custody. Within moments, members of law enforcement in the area were also able to assist and bring that individual into custody. At this time, as the director mentioned, the National Guard members are being treated at a local hospital. DC Fire and EMS responded to the scene to provide first aid for those individuals and transport them to a local hospital. The suspect in this case was also transported for treatment at a local hospital. Madam Mayor?
Thank you. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I, too, want to send my thoughts and prayers to the families of the Guardsmen and to the Guardsmen who are in critical condition in a local hospital.
Oh, so they're not
I
dead.
am joined by members and leadership from the D.C. National Guard, from the West Virginia National Guard, United States Secret Service, Deputy Mayor Pia, Fire Chief Donnelly, and Metro's General Manager Randy Clark. And we join with the FBI Director in ensuring that MPD investigates, the U.S. Attorney prosecutes this case to the fullest extent of the law. I've had the opportunity to brief U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was speaking to the president when I called, as well as the United States Attorney Pirro, who assured me that this case will have her office's complete attention.
Mayor, is there any other suspect?
I'm gonna be honest. I told you. Okay, this is why I said what I
At this time,
said.
there's no indication that there was any other suspect. The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction, and they were transported to the hospital for treatment.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
Mayor, can you tell us any more details on the condition of the two National Guardsmen and whether or not anyone else was injured? And a quick question follow-up for the FBI Director.
What did you call beforehand when the governor of West Virginia came out and was the first to say that that the National Guardsmen were dead? I said I would still wait on this, even though under normal circumstances the governor is like a credible narrator of events. I would still wait a little bit, but they could have just as well died, for the record. Or they could, if they're in critical condition, they still could not survive. I don't know. I'm just saying that you have to wait in these moments.
In the preliminary stages of investigation, there's a lot of things, a lot of agents that are here from various federal agencies, law enforcement agencies. We have the full power of the FBI and our
this
federal
cop
partners
is
here in the task force.
the
So we're looking at all those
living,
different
breathing,
aspects.
existing proof of my age-old take.
That were shot, I'm told they were
Thumb phrenology.
at this time as part of the preliminary investigation.
He has the craziest cop skull I've ever seen.
Sure. So how the suspect was apprehended, as I said, the individual, the suspect came around the corner. He immediately started firing a firearm at the two National Guard members. So at that time, there were other National Guard members that were in the area. They heard the gunfire. They actually were able to intervene and to kind of hold down the suspect after he had been shot on the ground until law enforcement got there within moments.
And he was shot by a National Guard.
At this point, we're still investigating exactly who shot that individual. It's not clear at this time.
Were there DC policemen in the area?
We don't know what kind of weapon. There was DC police. It happened right in front of the Metro, although there is no indication that the perpetrator was on the Metro. So there's Metro Transit Police in the area, and obviously being on 17th Street by the White House, Uniform Division of Secret Service were in the immediate area as well.
What kind of weapon the alleged perpetrator used?
We do not know at this time. It's still under investigation.
Thank you, Andrew. We're going to be able to take a couple more.
Has been able to question the suspect, or is his condition so severe that you haven't been able to have a conversation?
Sure. Again, so as I said, we're very preliminary in the investigation, so we're looking to all aspects of who the individual is, his connections. At this time, he's still in the hospital receiving treatment.
And I would just like, hang on, I would just like to add, the reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today, there was not any further injury and any further shootings. We should highlight the
Okay, once again, it kind of feels like Kash Patel did it. I know he wasn't there at the during the incident taking place, but
today and
his vibes are so fucked. He just seems
These
so
National
untrustworthy.
Guardsmen are heroes, and we must pray for their safety and their speedy recovery. And as the chief said,
look at his
we're
eyes.
in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We will run down every single lead, every piece of evidence.
That's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty. Lock him up. I'm sorry. I don't need to see anything more.
Agency group is standing behind us to assure America and the world that we will continue to keep D.C. safe. And thankfully, we have Metropolitan Police Department, the National Guardsmen, and federal agents, and the Department of Justice and Attorney General willing to prosecute the mission to keep Americans safe.
Look at how
President
cagey
Trump
he is.
Has rightly stated
Look at how he's
that this
talking about
heinous
this
act
situation.
Will be investigated.
The vibes. If you just listen, if you mute him and just look at his body language, you're like, did you do this killing? Did you shoot the National Guardsman? Why do you look like you shot the National Guardsman? What the hell is going on? He looks guilty, dude. Hey, chill. Chill. You are not a guard dog, okay? You are a lap dog. Whenever Kash Patel does a press conference, he looks like he took a few lines of coke just before it. The police confirmed that it was a lone gunman and both National Guardsmen are in critical condition. Yeah, I feel like he did it, bro. He looks like he did it. He's got the vibes of a person who did do it. Anyway, alleged photo of the suspect. What is this from OSINT? Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if that's the guy. I don't even know where that photo is from. It could be. She's National Guard's dog.
They were willing to do dangerous things. Others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand.
They still haven't said the shooter is trans or Antifa yet. So I don't know. It could be because they don't have enough information on the shooter yet, that hasn't been leaked. But once there's depending on what the background is, depending on the background of the shooter, they'll figure it out. Give it some time. You know what I mean? If it's if he's got a little bit of melanin, if he looks Arab, then it's Hamas. If he has long hair, then trans for sure, right? Like anybody that has long hair, automatically they'll say this is a trans furry Antifa super soldier. If he has a tan, they'll say he's a Muslim. Don't turn into a conspiracy theorist lunatic, bro. I'm sorry, but what the fuck is this conspiracy theorist shit phase you're going through? What? Explain what you mean by that. Wait, did you take seriously what I was saying about Kash Patel looking like he's always the person who is responsible for the crime because he looks untrustworthy? Serious? Like you think I'm saying Kash Patel shot the National Guardsman? That's what you're... Are you okay? You can't read jokes? Like at all? Just started listening and yes, this is what I'm referring to. It wasn't clear it was humor. Brother. Come on, dude. Then again, I'm not a native English speaker, but it looks serious to me. Brother, be for real, okay? That's crazy. Of course, I'm joking, man. Yes, I'm joking. The joke is about Kash Patel looking like he's hiding a zombie bite whenever he speaks. Oh my God. Too much Tylenol. I can't even be sarcastic.
And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best,
you need to tell them that the Tylenol bit is also a joke. Brother, it's just not clear whenever you're sarcastic, I think, at least from my non-American POV. Yeah, if I'm saying something so insane, I don't know why you automatically assume that I'm being sincere. You have you have a brain. Just because you're ESL doesn't mean that like you're brainless, right? Like if I were to tell you right now, oh, it's probably Trump that shot the National Guardsmen, would you assume that I'm being sincere, or do you think I'm being silly? It's all good, you know? Also, the reason why I came in hot with this was because he said, I'm doing lunatic conspiracies. To be fair, if you're saying something crazy, people just assume you're American. Well, I am American. I do say crazy shit sometimes, but sometimes I'm joking. This is very clearly a joke. You literally said, even though he wasn't even there in your joke. I know, I try to factor that in as well. I try to be as like autism friendly as well. Okay. Let's be real. You know, I have a pretty high rad score myself. I try to do my very best to clarify and add little tidbits that you can pick up on that I'm like saying that this is impossible.
we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. I mentioned the faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr. P.
Appeals to heaven for our National Guardsmen.
Dude, what are you saying? What is like? This is so insincere. You're like a alcoholic rapist. What do you mean? What is this like Christian bit that these guys try to do? Like, it's so fake. It's so, who believes this shit? You have to be a real dumbass to be like, wow, you know, that boy right there, that's a good Christian, okay? Like, he's a television guy. He's a television guy and an alcoholic rapist. Like, what are we talking about? What is this? Oh man, we need to do an appeal to heaven bullshit. Pentecostals from Indiana, it comes pre-installed with white nationalism. I just cannot. I don't know. I am too pessimistic, too skeptical about like every person that works in politics in any capacity to assume that they are legitimately following the Christian faith. Okay. It's especially ridiculous for someone like Pete Hegseth, who's like a TV guy. If you're a politician or if you're working in the government, I automatically assume you're an atheist. You're just faking being religious, okay? 100%. There's no world where I believe anyone in a position of power actually believes in any higher power but themselves, okay? And not only that, but especially these guys. They're so fake about this shit.
For their families, on bended knee as a
more than an alcoholic rapist, his wife was married to my cousin when he got her pregnant. Yeah. He's had like, he is Mr. Steal Your Girl. He would just like, he famously went through 3 different marriages, constantly cheating on his wife. First wife, he cheats on with another woman that he ends up leaving his first wife for after impregnating, does it again, and then again, I think. It's just like he's Mr. Pump and Dump.
War Department as a nation.
Excuse me.
We will never back down. What do you think about them right now?
Venezuela.
We had a couple of great, productive meetings with the President and Minister of Defense here, where we are dedicated to the counter-cartel effort here. Criminality knows no boundaries, whether it's the United States of America and Washington, D.C., or it's the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere. We are going to go after narco-terrorists. It will not stand. Our borders will be secure, whether it's the Dominican Republic or the United States of America, and we look forward to working with our partners to make it happen. You know, President Trump believes in a clear principle: peace through strength. You get peace by being strong. And if you're a narco-terrorist who wants to bring drugs to the United States of America, we will find you, we will fix you, and we will finish you. Because we have all the rights in the world. We got lots of attorneys and lots of intel analysts, and we know exactly who we're targeting and why. If you're involved in that conduct, we will kill you. It's that deadly serious because of the poison that has made its way into the American public for far too long. President Trump is serious about it. We're serious about it, and we're proud to be working with the Dominican Republic and other countries very serious about ensuring that cartels don't set the agenda. We do. Thank you very much. It's been a great series of meetings.
Thank you very much.
Johnson & Johnson family better watch out. Yeah. All right.
To DC. And so there would be a fairly significant likelihood that these guardsmen would have been deployed from the Eastern Panhandle.
This is going to be another Russia will not invade Ukraine moment when it comes out Cash actually did do it. Okay. I'll take it. Okay. I'll take it. What am I supposed to do at that point? You know, that chatter's going to come back with the utmost vindication, even though he said it was conspiracy lunacy. I haven't heard of this until now. Are they blaming the radical left perchance? Depending on whose perspective we're operating off of, they're not immediately insta-locking blame to the radical left. They're just blaming the 6 radical Democrats who are not even radical, nor are they a part of the left. They're blaming the 6 Democratic lawmakers that came out last week and did a video saying like the military, active duty service members have a duty to protect the Constitution and follow the laws. And they have an obligation not to follow unlawful orders.